Hey,
Hey, how's it
hey.
going?
This is Terrence and
Yes, yes,
Jill.
yes. This is Terrence and Jill coming to you.
Yep,
Yes, we're a God-Ordained union.
yep,
We just got through our newlywed phase to where we're now married for 2.5 years.
yep.
Yes,
Our story is simple. We did not settle.
yes.
And this channel is all about, what's this channel about, baby?
Our vision is to help increase kingdom marriages.
Yep. And so we're on a mission to do our part. Just
Yes,
to just to help encourage you. Of course, based in the word of God.
yes.
Sharing our testimony. We were in the single season, or as my husband say, in the elevation season
Mm,
for a long time. We were 50 after we got married, over 50. I never had any children. That was a whole, yeah, that was a whole issue in itself. Waiting for the one, and
mm.
and then that motherhood came and gone. But God is faithful, and I would not have changed the way I did things, the way He did things for anything. So we're here to encourage you not to settle, not to
Yes,
settle.
yes. As we were in God's waiting room, or what I call, as she just said, the elevation room, understand that we didn't know how things was going to end. But what we did realize afterwards, as we started to reflect and talk about it, is that we wish we would have had someone that would have guided us through the process.
Biblically and through faith and helping, encouraging us.
And then
Um,
what even solidified that even more was the response that we received when Jill announced and shared our story on
yes.
social media. The
Mm-hmm.
people that responded to
Mm-hmm.
our story saying that we gave them hope because we were over 50 when we got married and they are still waiting for their soulmate. And so it
Yeah.
just touched our hearts to say that, yeah, we need to share our story and help as much as we can those that are still seeking and looking for their soulmate. So
Yeah.
that's how
And,
all
and
this got
and
started.
disclaimer, my husband was um married previously, and two beautiful children came out of that union. Twins
Mhm.
came out of that union who are going to be 29.
Absolutely.
And so, but it was 16 years between the time of his divorce
Hmm.
and us applying for our marriage license.
Yes.
So, but you didn't settle.
No, no.
Many women came.
And but you know what though? I think that when you get close, you learn that there is levels to this. And the one thing I've learned was that I didn't want to settle. I
Right.
wasn't going to settle. And the more I asked God to help, the more serious I became about not settling.
Right, right. And then when we realized that God ordains marriage, which is a
Yes.
whole nother
Yeah.
video, I mean,
Yes.
we knew that we had an assignment. And so we're here to encourage you. Please follow us, subscribe,
Yes.
share our videos. Also, join us every Tuesday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we go live.
Yes.
And so, yeah, press if you want to see the replays of the live, because they don't come up, I don't think, regularly on the timeline. Click the live tab, and you'll see the replays of the live.
And
Um,
if you ever get to a point where you want to reach out to us, you can always
yes,
contact us at terrenceandjill@gmail.com.
yes. And if you want to know how our love story started, you could go all the way back to the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
to our first 5 videos. We started this channel in 2021. And so we're going on 4
Mm-hmm.
years. In a couple of months, it'll be 4 years. But
Yes.
if you want to know how it started and
Mm-hmm.
how we knew each other was the one, and how all of that came about,
Yes.
yeah, go look at the first 5 videos, because it's a beautiful love story, my absolute favorite love story.
Absolutely.
Whew. All right, so we got a topic today.
Yes. And this gonna
Hope
raise some eyebrows, I
you
believe.
might raise some eyebrows, but hopefully you'll get a different perspective.
Yes.
Yeah,
I believe he will
yeah,
after this.
yeah. So the topic is, this is the reason why he chose her over you.
Mm.
And me being a her, let me just tell you, over my single elevation season, my single season, 3 times I was the runner up.
Wow.
3 times, meaning that um, I was dating the guy, and the very next woman he married. In 2 situations, he was dating me. The 2 guys were dating me and the one that they
Mm.
chose. And then in the last situation, right before I met Terrence, um, he was in a he was a divorcee, and he didn't get married right away after he and I stopped dating. But the next person he dated, he did marry. So it wasn't while we were dating he was seeing her. At least that's what he told me. That wasn't the case. But and I believe him. But he he just didn't choose me. And so
Mm. Wow.
yeah, yeah,
So first of all, that can be traumatizing in itself.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
And I mean, and I can see where
Mm.
you said that happened to you 3 times. So I can
In my
see.
20s, 30s, and 40s.
Wow.
So in the 20s, it happened like between 24 and 25. And then when I was 37, 38, 37, between 37, 38, 39, the guy that I was dating picked someone over me and married her. And then the guy in my 40s, right before you, um, he didn't choose me. And the next person he started dating, he married.
Wow.
So yeah, that's traumatizing.
Yeah, and I was going to say 3 times actually is probably enough times to make you think that there's something wrong with
Something
you or
wrong with
something
me.
you wasn't doing or make
Hmm.
you question yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Because I've said many times on videos, the first one, the first guy who chose his wife, and these guys they're quote unquote happily married, still to their wives, even after years and years. But the first guy that happened in my 20s, I never forget. He told me, he said the reason why he chose her because she was better than me, mind, body, and spirit.
Wow.
And it it didn't really, I don't want to say it made me feel insecure. It was like I took it as he tried to
Oh, okay.
he tried, unintentionally tried. It could have landed where it destroyed me, but what it did was, because he was a church guy, what it did was it caused me to go pursue my career and really be focused on school, going back to school. And then I realized that I started, like when I went to college, I went back to college at 26. I realized, oh, I like the educated guys. I like smart guys. I don't like church guys no more. Like the level went up. It went up. And so, but yeah.
But that was, yeah, I guess. I mean, that's almost like it did piss you off because you no longer
Yeah.
like church guys, you know what I mean? Which he represented.
Mm-hmm.
But
And then the next guy in my 30s, he was a mixture of the two. Church guy loved the Lord, I like loved the Lord, but very astute, very smart, a professional, a suit and tie guy, very professional. And he married the person he was seeing. Um, at the same time he was seeing me, and I'm thinking we talking about a future. And that was devastating. That was very devastating. And then of course the other one, um in my
mm,
40s, he was going through a divorce, like a recent divorce, so he has some traumas,
mm,
which is yeah. So
yeah.
you a man, you've not chosen a woman,
Hmm.
and you've chosen the right woman. So what does that, why did you choose me over her?
There wasn't no choosing you over anybody. There
Okay, so
wasn't
why didn't
another
you choose
person.
her, and why did you choose me? I guess that's what I should say.
Okay. Well, let me say this first. I think it really sends a bad message when guys say they chose a woman over another
Okay.
woman because there's no reason to compare. You know what I mean? Every woman is different
Mm-hmm.
in her own way. And to me, I believe that with everything I am, that no
Mm-hmm.
matter who they are, every woman is different.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I say that to say this. It was easier, I believe, for me because I knew that I couldn't describe what I was looking for or what I felt was going to be the one for me. But what I did know is what I didn't want.
Okay.
So once I recognized that a woman wasn't going to be the one for me, I ended it
Coldly.
cold. Well, yes, I was direct. And when I say direct, I wasn't being sarcastic. I wasn't being, in my opinion, I wasn't being rude. I was just being honest. And basically it was like, you know what? You and I are not the ones for each other. So it's, to me, it's in our best interest to part ways. So now you can find the one that you're supposed to be with, and I can find the one I'm supposed to be with. The longer we stay together, trying to fight to stay together, is only preventing us from finding the right people we're supposed to be with. So to me, that's how
It was
those
easier.
conversations went. It was like, look, once I realized she wasn't the one for me, there's nothing in my head that says it's okay to stay with her.
But was it something that she did or didn't do or wasn't
It
com-
just
it just is
it just I mean there are things that I've learned over the years that I felt was dear to me, and then there was things that I felt like those aren't worth arguing about.
so if it was no so the argument was basically trying to fit a square into a rectangle.
Yeah, I mean there's just some things that you can, to me, and you and I was just talking about this. I just believe that God has someone for everybody,
Uniquely.
and when you are with that person, I think it's not that hard to
Hmm.
be in love with somebody. You know, it's there's a difference when you're in the arms of somebody and you know that's the arms you want to be in
But
versus saying, well,
the
he's
guy
all right. I can make it work.
the guy that in my 30s, the one who we were talking about a future
Mhm.
together, there were no arguments, there was no
But
fighting.
there was probably something in his gut that he wasn't feeling.
Right, and
You know,
that's what I'm
like I was
saying.
saying, I wanted somebody to
Mm-hmm.
make me nervous. You
Uh-huh.
know, like I was in middle school. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? When we had that innocent love to where
Mm-hmm.
you didn't even know that people would do you wrong. So
Mm-hmm.
you loved as hard as you could. You know,
Okay.
that's that's the thing that I felt, yeah, I'm gonna know who she is because that's what I'm gonna feel.
So it's an awakening.
It's yes.
So what happened when you met me? How did you what so you knew when it wasn't the one,
Hmm.
and so when you met me, what did I do differently than the other one to make you think that I
Now,
would?
here's where, okay, I'm gonna describe this the best I can, but you have to understand that all this time God is leading me. So when because if you remember, when I saw you, it wasn't in person.
Right.
So it ain't like I could have walked up to you and said, "Hey, how you doing? You know, what's your name?" You know, or even that we stayed in the same city where I could run into you at the
Mm-hmm.
bus stop or the grocery store,
Mm-hmm.
or you know what I'm saying. So we was, one, living long distance. Two, I saw you online.
So y'all gotta go. So those of you who are new to the channel, um, go back to the first five
Yeah,
videos and you'll find out how I ended up on his Facebook. We ended up Facebook friends.
and
So
so
you saw me
yeah,
on
so
Facebook.
I saw you on Facebook, and even with just a picture, I couldn't get you out of my head.
Wow.
So and back then I wasn't going on social media that often, but when I did, I always strode down through my friends list, and I've described this probably 100 times
On this
since on
platform.
this platform. But even now, the only way I know how to describe it is the very same way that I've always had, which is as I was strolling, it was as if everybody else's photo was in black and white. And then I get down to yours and it's in color. And it's like, and it kept drawing me. And I would stop and I would stare at your picture. Then I'd go to your profile and I go through the pictures on your profile. I go through what you said about yourself. Then I continue doing whatever I was doing. And then I stroll back up in the opposite direction, going back up to the very top, stopping when I get to yours again. And every single time I was asking myself, who is this woman? Where did she come from? Because again, you and I didn't, we didn't send each other officially a friend request.
Yeah.
And again, that's something you guys have to go back to the beginning and look at the videos to find out what we're talking about.
I think it's like the second video.
But it got to a point where I was like, I need to find out how she got here.
So it's safe to say that, like, the reason why you chose me over the other, or chose me, is because it's like awakening. Like I sparked those what you say, those butterflies in you, or those.
To me, here's how I describe that. And I love the word that you say about awakening. But here's how I describe that. I believe every man, we seek two things without subconsciously knowing it. One is we seek our relationship with the Holy Spirit, our creator, but I also think that we seek getting our rib back. So to me, I felt like, because God was leading me and I'd already asked him to either introduce me to the woman he had for me, or make it known that it was just going to be me and him, that I was going to be single forever. But I wanted it to be his will for me. So I trusted him. So I say that to say, I believe that when I saw your picture, it was bigger than an attraction. Mm-hmm. Yes, I felt you were beautiful, but I thought there was something stronger. It's almost like my spirit knew that it was attracted to your spirit. It was bigger than me just saying, oh, this woman's pretty, I got to find her. No, it was stronger than that.
So it was like how Jesus and John and Mary and Elizabeth's belly, we left when they greeted each other, they left in the womb. Yeah.
So that's why, I share with guys sometimes, look, man, I know men are physical people, but there's a bigger attraction than just you physically being attracted to somebody. There's a spiritual attraction. And I believe when I saw your photo, the Holy Spirit said, that's the one I have for you, and made that spiritual attraction there. And that's what kept me going back and looking for your photo and going through your profile until we had a chance to speak for the first time.
Yeah. And then when we met, like we said many times here, for those who are new, so the first time we saw each other was in June. It was through the pandemic. We saw each other in June, and we had a long distance relationship going back and forth. But we were just getting to know each other. I was still waiting for, I had no expectations. We've said this many times. I had no expectations. I was just enjoying. And I think that's the thing. I didn't put no pressure. We was just enjoying.
I think that was one of the secrets to us getting to where we are now, is that when we met, neither one of us had expectations. We just allowed God to naturally do whatever he was doing. The pandemic, like you said, was there, so we couldn't even go anywhere.
Right. So we had to.
There was no impressing. I couldn't say, well, let me take her to a fancy restaurant and impress her, because they wasn't allowing. All the restaurants and stuff a lot of them was shut down. So we had to do things that we could do. And the one thing that we were able to do was talk.
And we would, when the outside opened up, we were able to walk. So I think that was the connection. But so we literally went from getting to know each other to 6 months later.
Let's back up. Just so y'all know, anybody that's new, we actually spoke on the phone for almost a whole year before we saw each other. So we did a lot of conversing by phone.
texting,
Yeah.
phone, DM
Staying up
through,
all night just talking.
just talking.
And
So, and then when
so,
we saw
yeah.
each other, and then 6 months after that, like I was like, "What? You proposed?"
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, the guy will know. It will be fast. You will know. The guy will know. Because it is like an awakening. Like I came into your life, and it was
Mhm.
like it's just like how Adam was. Adam was asleep, and when he woke up, he said, "She is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh." Like he can identify that is my wife. That is mine. She has my rib. And so I guess the reason, to sum it up, the reason why he chose her over you, I mean, the reason is simple.
You wasn't the one.
You wasn't the one. And it's okay. Because I've said many times, um, when I did have a conversation with the second guy, that I thought we were going to have a future with, he told me that that was his person, and he chose her over me. He said that is, this is, and he said, I'm in love with my wife. And at the time, it was a sting. It was a sting. Um, because I was nearing 40, and I was saying never, all those things that go through your head at that, when you feel like you're getting older and you thought this was the one. And but I did not appreciate what he said until I got my one. And now I understand that it just made the caliber of who he is so much greater in my eyes, and the first guy, because they really went for
Hmm.
the one that
They
gave them the
sold out.
awakening.
They sold out. They
Yeah,
said, "Look, I believe in my heart. This is
this
it.
is it.
And even if this makes me come across
As
wrong,
hurting her,
I got to
I
do it
have to
because I got to be
do,
true to her, the one that is."
and to true to
Yeah,
yourself,
yeah.
like, or true to himself, like, this is who. So I didn't appreciate him choosing her until after.
Mhm.
I guess the message is like, on the surface, it seems like a diss, or it is, it could be
So
traumatizing.
look, there are so many people, so many of us grew up saying, "Oh, when you break up with everything. The
Yes.
friends that knew both of you, the
Yep. It's
family,
definitely the
all of
families.
this. You get so far away from, so you disconnect from anything has to do with that person. But what we're sharing with you right now is one, if you believe in your heart that you want to be married, and if you understand that God created marriage and he ordains marriage and he has someone uniquely chosen just for
Suitable
you,
for you.
then anybody that's not that individual, you shouldn't want to spend time with anyway in the romantic capacity. So
Check
when
them off.
somebody breaks up with you, if they are doing the breaking up, then that means you're not the one for them, which means you shouldn't be with them anyway. So we're just sharing that there is a different perspective
Yeah.
that
This
you
is.
can look at that
Hmm.
situation and
Check
say,
them
no matter
off.
how bad it hurts, this person just did me a favor, because if the person that I'm supposed to be with see me and I'm on his arms, or I got her in my arms, then I'm not available as far as they're concerned.
Yeah.
So the fact that this person is breaking up with me is actually a blessing in disguise,
Yeah.
whether
Yeah.
you understand it at that particular moment or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to make so that's the reason. I mean, he's just not the one. I do
Mhm.
want to make a clear distinction. There are two types of guys, and I want to say that the two first men that I was the runner up, they chose their wives. There was nothing. They were clear. I mean,
They were
they
good
they
dudes.
were good dudes.
They were good
Yes,
dudes.
yes. The third one, as I said, had just gone through a recent divorce, a ugly divorce. So he had some trauma. So
Mhm.
there's going to be some guys that will reject you, but it's not in a category of a good dude who has chosen his person.
Right.
This type of guy may reject you because they are trauma bonding with someone who's either not going to that's either going to cover up and mask their
Mm-hmm.
trauma and support their trauma, or is not going, or is going to, or yeah, and going to allow them to be in their trauma and get comfortable and be okay with it. So either way, whatever the
Mm-hmm.
type of guy it is, whatever the situation, you got to come to the point where you have to accept it and just keep moving
Yeah.
on. You're closer to the one. And I promise you, and I'm telling you this from personal experience, I promise you that your person is there. There's someone whose
Mm-hmm.
rib you're carrying, someone whose rib you're carrying. And you ain't got to, you know, be Miss America. You ain't got to look like Miss America. You ain't got to be the most educated. You ain't got to be the smartest. You ain't got to be the most career driven. You ain't got to be the most Holy Ghost filled, sanctified, trying to be a pastor type of person. None of that. When he sees you, he's going to know. He's going to know. And you're going to know because there's going to be an undeniable connection. Because those of you who've been rocking with us for these last 3.5 years, y'all know the story. I saw him first.
Yeah.
I saw him first. I saw Terrence first. Before he saw me and said I was the one, I saw him first and I knew he was the one. And so,
And look, you've all heard that time heals all wounds. Well, in this case, getting with your right person is going to heal the wound because it's going. So when you reflect back on it, you're going to realize that those individuals did you a favor by freeing
yes,
you up to meet the one that God
yes,
has for you.
yes. And then you could have genuine,
Yes.
genuine, um, I don't want to say love, but genuine, like you could be genuinely happy for him,
Yeah.
for the both of them. Like I'm genuinely happy, like they found their person and they've
Right.
gone on to have very what seemingly, happy, healthy, prosperous relationships, loving the Lord and and doing their thing. And so yeah, as a matter of fact, when we saw the second person that I was a runner up to, they were in ministry doing their marriage thing. They're, so yeah, so it is really okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It doesn't look like it. You're gonna take it personal. But if you taking it that personal, that's a trigger to some inner work you need to do on
Some
yourself.
things that happened to you earlier
Yeah,
that you
some
just haven't
traumas
dealt
that
with.
are triggered that
Yeah.
you've got to work on. And so you
Hmm.
work on those things. Work on those
Absolutely.
things and he's coming.
But know God has somebody
Yes.
specifically, uniquely for
Yes.
you.
Yes. Yes. So all right, we got our point across, did we?
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So with that said, don't forget to catch us on Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we go
Yes,
live. All right.
absolutely. Deuces.
Deuces.